Southern Sports Now on this Friday. Welcome in. Glad you are along with us. I'm Chase Robinson as we get this Friday going, wrapping up a week and getting ready to head into the weekend. It's been a busy week in the world of sports. We've covered it all for you, and we've got another great show on the way for you today. Coach Michael Shortt will be in studio with us talking. We're going to talk college football. We're going to dive into more of the 2024 schedules. We talked a lot about that yesterday. We'll get Coach Shortt's top 10 games of 2024 and top 10 toughest schedules. We'll do that coming up. But as always, we'll start out with our top 5 headlines of the day. First up, Braves get a good win over the Rockies, 8-3 last night as they began the 4-game series at home against Colorado. So the Braves are back in Atlanta after being away for the last couple of series, so it's good to be back home for the Braves. They kind of changed the lineup up a little bit. They moved Matt Olson down to fifth. They moved Ozzie Albies up to second, and it worked well for the Braves. They looked great offensively last night. Were able to get some guys around and not leave as many on base as we've seen the last few games. So great win for the Braves, 8-3 over the Rockies. Golf fans, you've been watching the U.S. Open, and it is Xander Schauffele and Ricky Fowler at 8 under coming into Day 2 there at the U.S. Open. Really a historic day, especially for Ricky Fowler. And the way he played yesterday, shot a 60. And so both of those guys at 8 under heading into round 2 of the U.S. Open. And the Vipers softball team, they'll be playing at Choccolocco Park this summer. Their game last night, they started the season off against the Oklahoma City Spark. The game was postponed in the second inning due to weather there in Oklahoma. The Spark was leading the Vipers 4-1. And so they will announce a later date for that game to resume. They will have game 2 of the 3-game series between the Vipers and the Spark coming up tonight. That will be at 7 o'clock, and you can watch that on the Women's Professional Fast Pitch website. And the College World Series begins today as the teams are battling it out to see who can claim this year's College World Series. We'll talk more about this, look at the matchups as well, and who will be facing who in round 1 of the College World Series, but to be some really good college baseball there in Omaha. And a bit of college football news for you. Zion Webb has been the quarterback for Jacksonville State. His waivers officially came back from the NCAA today or late last night, early this morning, and he will be back for a 7th season with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. That makes 9 quarterbacks on the roster for Jacksonville State. I want to get Coach Shortt's opinion on this coming up as well. That's a lot of quarterbacks for a coach to have. But Zion Webb, of course, has been a leader on this Gamecock program for 6 previous seasons, has sustained some injuries along the way, including an ACL injury, but is coming back for a 7th season with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. So that's something you don't see a lot. We've seen as of late, guys getting to come back for a COVID year or whatever, but the waiver has come back that Zion Webb will be back for a 7th season with Jacksonville State. Again, we have a lot to dive into today. We'll take a break, come back. Coach Shortt joins us on the other side. We'll talk some College World Series here on Southern Sports Now.
Custom-made cabinets. With that in mind, we're changing our name to Ted's Floors and Beyond. The Beyond is going to encompass everything that we offer in addition to all of your flooring needs.
We've partnered with Welberg Cabinet Company, who makes the highest quality cabinets in the industry.
So when you're ready for a complete kitchen or bathroom remodel, shop Ted's.
EAN Sports is proud to bring you the best, most informative local sports content, and we want your help to be able to do that. If you have a story idea, a tip for our sportscast, or even a highlight clip you want to see on EAN Local Sports, send us an email, eansports23@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @EAN_sports, or you can send it to the EAN News Facebook page. EAN Sports, bringing you the local sports happening in your community.
For metal buildings in Alabama and the Southeast, Waldrop Manufacturing is your one-stop source. A Waldrop metal building provides the coverage and protection your investments need. They specialize in carports, RV covers, portable buildings, and storage buildings. Stop paying rent for storage. With Waldrop's price per foot, you can actually save money by buying straight from the manufacturer. Waldrop buildings are guaranteed because Waldrop manufactures buildings with U.S. Steel right here in Calhoun County. Waldrop Manufacturing, serving the entire Southeast. Give them a call today.
If you see some interesting weather phenomenon in your backyard here in East Alabama, send that to us. We would love to hear from you. Send that to us at the email address you see on your screen or through Facebook at EAN News.
Ted's Floors and Beyond brings you this segment of Southern Sports Now. Ted's Floors and Beyond is the place to go for all things flooring. But now they have partnered with Wellborn Cabinet to offer you a complete kitchen or bath makeover, and that includes cabinets, countertops, flooring, backsplashes, and tile showers. And of course, they have all of your flooring needs with hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, and luxury vinyl. They offer 0% interest financing for 12 months and free in-home estimates. Lifetime warranty on flooring installation, and they're locally owned and operated. So Ted's Floors and Beyond is the place you need to go for all your flooring, and now for all of your kitchen or bath needs, as they can get it all done for you there. Ted's Floors and Beyond on Highway 431 in Anniston, and visit shopteds.com online to check it out. But go by and see them there. They got a friendly staff that will help you get what you need there at Ted's Floors and Beyond. Well, we are here on this Friday. Glad to have Coach Michael Shortt in studio with us. Coach, glad to have you for another Friday.
Glad to be here. I always enjoy coming in here on Fridays.
So we got a lot to discuss. I want to talk, though, first about the College World Series begins today. I thought perhaps we could have the Alabama Crimson Tide in. That did not go well in Wake Forest last Saturday, but we do have some SEC teams represented in the College World Series.
We do. It has, as expected, you have three good ones. I'm expecting maybe one of the most exciting College World Series that we've had in a while. And the reason I say that is because we have probably 10 to 12 first-round prospects that are going to be there in Omaha. So anytime you have that caliber of player, it should make for an exciting series.
Yeah, you're right. Let's look at the matchups that we are going to see there in the College World Series. As, again, you mentioned 3 SEC teams will be playing, and, 3 good SEC teams. But there you see today, getting started at 1 o'clock, TCU taking on Oral Roberts. And you have Florida and Virginia in today's game, Coach. I like the Florida Gators. They're hot right now, winning the SEC, and they're playing really good baseball.
They are, and they've got a good pitching staff, along with Wake Forest and them. But anytime you've got a deep pitching staff, you've got a great opportunity. And then you got a first baseman over there that leads the country in home runs with 31 right now. The home run derby, I guess you would say, will be decided in the College World Series.
I can't remember. I looked it up before we went on. Caligonia
that sounds good.
Yeah,
that sounds
something
good.
like that. He is a great player. He is a great player, and like you said, 31 home runs this season. Saturday, you got Wake Forest and Stanford. Wake Forest, we saw them at home this past weekend with 9 home runs against Alabama on Sunday. They are a power-hitting team.
They can score a lot of runs, but traditionally in the past, the home run hitting teams, especially Wake Forest coming from a short porch, coming to a big field, the Charles Schwab Field's a lot bigger, those home runs will probably be cut in half. Yeah. See how they handle that.
And then you've got, I think, the most intriguing matchup to me is LSU and Tennessee, the nightcap on Saturday.
Yeah, LSU probably is the most talented team. I didn't say best team, but they're probably the most talented team in the tournament. And Tennessee probably, a lot of times Tennessee last year didn't get there, and everybody thought, this is a can't-miss team. They're going to finally break the number 1 seed, finally win in the tournament. I think they got a better chance now than they did last year.
Yeah. I certainly think so as well, but I think that should be a really good game there with LSU and Tennessee. Coach, if I had to ask you who you think the Final Four will be, who would you say?
Final Four. Let's see. You threw that one out there on me real quick. You have to go with Wake Forest. And I haven't looked at the bracket, what sides they're on, because some of them are going to knock each other out. But probably the 4 best teams are going to be Wake Forest, and you just about have to throw you 3 SEC teams in there.
That's what I completely agree with you. That's what I was going to say. Possibly, maybe if Virginia. I think Florida will probably win game 1, but I think Virginia could definitely win their way back into it. But to me, you can't go against the 3 SEC teams. I mean, the way they've been playing, and as strong as the SEC is, and we see this in football, basketball, whatever it is, that when the SEC plays SEC, you're not really going to find any better competition when you get out of the SEC.
No, you're not. And I'm not for sure. Did TCU? That's a secret team right there. The one that's a surprise team, because I think they beat Arkansas to death. Yeah. It wasn't just. It was more like what Wake Forest did to Alabama.
Yes,
20-something runs scored. Yeah. So that's a sleeper team. I think is TCU. But if they're like their football team, we don't want them to get in the finals because that game may get ugly.
Yeah, you're right. But, TCU kind of reminds me of North Carolina State a few years ago when they kind of made a run at the College World Series, ended up not being able to play because they got COVID and the NCAA wouldn't let them. That's a different conversation. But TCU could be one of those teams that could sneak in there. You're right. But I like Tennessee, the way they're playing. LSU, obviously, but I really like Florida and Wake Forest. I could see one of those 2 teams probably winning it.
Very well could. And the name we couldn't pronounce a while ago, he's also 7'3" as a pitcher and throws a 97-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, that'll get it done.
He's one of those. He's one of those guys that can play anywhere in the field. He would be like Ohtani.
Yeah.
I mean, he's that kind of guy. He can hit a lot of home runs, and he can also go up there and pitch if they need him to.
Yeah, for sure. And so College World Series gets going today there in Omaha. You can watch all those games on ESPN and ESPN2 beginning again at 1 o'clock today. You'll see TCU and Oral Roberts. Obviously, Oral Roberts, one of those teams. They beat Oregon to get here, but they're one of those teams that, they've made it here. We'll see. They don't have a lot to lose. We'll see if they can win a couple games.
Well, they're the third number 4 seed team to ever make it to the finals, to the World Series. So that was something in itself right there. And the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest could be the first number 1 seed since 1999 to finally win it. So that number 1 seed's been something that people try to hide from. They don't like it, but since 1999, that's a long time.
That is a long time. So, hey, and they very well could do it. They very well could get it done. So, looking forward to some college baseball this weekend there in the College World Series. We're going to grab a break here because we're going to spend a lot of time on some college football today as we're going to discuss the SEC 2024 football schedules and more. So stick around as we roll on here on this Friday, Southern Sports Now.
Here at Ted's, we are excited to now be offering custom-made cabinets. With that in mind, we're changing our name to Ted's Floors and Beyond. The Beyond is going to encompass everything that we offer in addition to all of your flooring needs.
We've partnered with Welber Cabinet Company, who makes the highest quality cabinets in the industry.
So when you're ready for a complete kitchen or bathroom remodel, shop Ted's.
Since 1993, WM Grocery has been a major part of our local community. WM offers the very best in fresh produce and an outstanding meat department. WM also has many local products not found anywhere else and fresh sushi every day. If you need an event catered, come see Mrs. K at any WM store. Curbside pickup is also available for your online grocery orders. Be sure to download the WM app for all the deals of the week and shopper rewards. Go check them out today at any of their locations.
We take pride in our community and appreciate your business.
For metal buildings in Alabama and the Southeast, Waldrop Manufacturing is your one-stop source. A Waldrop metal building provides the coverage and protection your investments need. They specialize in carports, RV covers, portable buildings, and storage buildings. Stop paying rent for storage. With Waldrop's price per foot, you can actually save money by buying straight from the manufacturer. Waldrop buildings are guaranteed because Waldrop manufactures buildings with U.S. steel right here in Calhoun County. Waldrop Manufacturing, serving the entire Southeast. Give them a call today.
East Alabama Now Local News has been bringing you the best local news coverage for 6 months. And now we're growing.
EAN News will be available to you 5 nights a week with new faces, new content, and coverage that is second to none.
We'll be bringing you the weather that matters to your neighborhood and to you. Rain or shine, you'll be in the know.
Sports always brings communities together, and EAN Sports will have coverage of all of our area events.
East Alabama Now, local news. New faces, same great coverage. Starting 5 days a week, May 1st. EAN Local News, your news on your schedule.
Southern Sports Now continues here on this Friday. I'm Chase Robinson, got Coach Shortt in with us today as well, and we talked at length yesterday about the 2024 schedules have been released for SEC as Texas and Oklahoma come in to the conference. No divisions in the conference. Now, this is going to be fun. When you first saw the schedule, some of these games are released, and we'll look at these in a little bit, but what were your first thoughts as I mean, it's totally new here, coming in, no divisions, 2 more teams in the SEC. I'm excited about some of what we're going to see.
I am too, even though it's, we got to get through this year first,
Yeah.
and then, but that gives everybody something to talk about in June on Sports Talk Radio.
Yes, it does.
The thing I saw, of course, you've added Oklahoma and Texas, and that is able to add some old rivalries back and start some new rivalries. I think the SEC did a good job of trying to keep the rivalries that most everybody has. You may have lost some. We lost the Mississippi schools. I mean, it's just, you'd think they would play. I think some of the coaches that may have spoke a lot before, they said, well, we'll show you, and made their schedules even tougher. I think we'll stay, the one big question everybody has is, are we going to, after 1 year, go to 9? As a coach, I would say, no, stay at 8. Everybody else says, no, we want more. I said, well, you're not in that building with those players when you look at them after they beat each other to death playing in the SEC.
Yeah.
And then going, I know we're going to expand the playoffs, but you may knock some other people out by playing an extra SEC game. And it'll all be money. It'll be about who wants to buy that extra game. I think they'll stay at 8 because if you're adding, like Alabama's going to add in Wisconsin, look at Florida, what they've added to their schedule. Yeah. Their schedule's unbelievable. Yeah. Just because of the non-conference games. So I believe it's going to stay at 8. But, boy, they've done a great job of putting teams together and making some interesting matchups because it's all about putting fans in the stands.
Yeah. And you mentioned the money thing, but how important are those non-conference games? Because that's something Nick Saban has talked about a lot is he likes the 8 game because it gives him a chance to go out and get one of those like Texas this year and Wisconsin in 24, some of those bigger non-conference games. How important are those?
Well, it used to be the non-conference games that they played, they would play a big one against somebody that's real good and try to play it at a neutral site, and every bit of that's for recruiting, to be able to get your handprint somewhere else in the country where you think there's players such as Texas play in Atlanta because of Georgia, Yeah. That's why they would do that. Now everybody says, well, we need to be this home and at home. And that's for the fans. Yeah. And I understand that too. But we're going to Wisconsin. Wow. What's important is, when are they going to play that game? People better watch these non-conference games and find out if we're going to play somebody real good, where are they going to put them at in our schedule? Because we don't know in 24 when we're playing some of these people we're playing. Yeah. Like when you going to put Georgia and Alabama together? Late in the season? It better be early because they might play again late in the season. So you don't want to be playing 2 weeks apart, 3 weeks apart.
Yeah, that's really true. And we don't know the dates yet. That will also be interesting to see. But a little connection as Oklahoma comes into the SEC. I know one of your former guys, Todd Bates, they're from Cleveland County, on the staff there at Oklahoma. So he'll be in the SEC, recruiting the SEC. So I know that's cool to have an East Alabama connection. But I know for you personally to have Todd Bates, who's coaching there at Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for him and be exciting for his family because now they get to not have to drive to Oklahoma just to see him play or see him coach.
Yeah.
We talked a couple years about this may happen. So I had an idea before he even become official that Oklahoma and Texas were going to jump. because that was already being talked about. They just don't wake up one morning and say, oh, I believe we're going to go to the SEC.
Right.
So he's excited because he played at Alabama, and he's excited because now they're getting to play in the toughest conference in America as far as top to bottom in football. And they think it can't do nothing but raise the bar for them to start playing other people. And then when I talked to him about the schedule, he said, whoo, they really tried to add to us. We're not going to Kansas State and Kansas and some of these places that they've been before. He said, now we're going to have to really go. But he's excited because they're really going to have to up their game.
Yeah. And I'm sure that all the coaches are with Texas and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma did get a tough one. Let's take a look. First, I'll show you what I went through yesterday with my top 10 toughest schedules. Then we'll look at Coach Shortt's. I've got Texas A&M at 10, South Carolina 9, Kentucky 8, LSU 7, Tennessee 6, Oklahoma 5, the Vanderbilt Commodores 4, Georgia 3, Alabama 2, and Florida, I believe, had the toughest schedule. But Coach Shortt, take us through your top 10 toughest schedules.
Well, we might as well go ahead and get this out here right now and say it out. Vanderbilt could be number one.
Yes.
I mean, everybody they play is tough. Everybody on their schedule. So they could be number one, but we were nice to them, and we did put them in the top 10.
Yeah.
But they could be our number one if they really wanted to be.
Every year, not
every
just
year.
with this change.
No, every year it would have to be that way, but they're not. So we've all got a stepchild in our league. Everybody has one. You know, I went with number 10, Kentucky. You know what I'm sitting here reading? Yeah, I've got. You know, to me, I look at their away games. What real tough away games do they have, and do they have some home game? But they've got Auburn and Georgia, and South Carolina at home, and they got Florida, Tennessee, and they got Ole Miss away. So that's three places that's tough to play at.
Yeah.
So that's why I put them at number 10. Texas A&M, they're only going to have 3 home games. Now, it's by choice because they're going to play the neutral site game with Arkansas. When you only have 3 home games, to be in there and try to rock that stadium as they do side to side, that's going to be interesting, you know, to see how they pull that off with only 3 home games, because that's very important, the number of home games.
Yeah.
As far as SEC games is concerned. Mississippi State was my number 8. Mississippi State is at Georgia, at Tennessee, and at Texas, and Ole Miss. I mean, my goodness, how many tougher can you get than that as far as Mississippi State? They're fixing to find out. They better take some cowbells with them, because it's going to be loud in Texas. And all these games I'm fixing to talk about, when you go to Texas A&M, you go to Texas, you go to Oklahoma, that is a different type of heat than it is going to Florida. You go to Florida and play, it's humidity. You go to Texas A&M, it's heat and humidity. It's a different type. There's no wind blowing out there. The only wind is that stadium moving.
Yeah.
So when those games are played, are going to be very important for some of these people. Number 7, I threw Vandy in there at number 7. I don't even have to name the teams off. Everybody they play is going to be tougher than they are. 6, Tennessee. This is the interesting one, is Tennessee's schedule then. And remember, the SEC looked at what this year's schedule is going to be and tried to line that up so nobody would have to go somewhere 2 times in a row. They got Alabama, Florida, and Kentucky at home. That's big for them to be able to pull that off. You know, they got Georgia and Oklahoma and Arkansas away. So I think Tennessee's probably got the 6th toughest schedule. Number 5, Auburn. I'm looking, did you even put Auburn in there? You didn't even list the Auburn Tigers.
I did not.
It's having a tough schedule. Well, they've got Auburn, they got Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M at home. The Oklahoma Auburn game is going to be huge, because that'll be the first time that Oklahoma Sooners have went in to Jordan-Hare Stadium, and everybody knows that Jordan-Hare Stadium is one of the hardest places to play in America. That'll be an exciting game right there. But Auburn's at Alabama, at Georgia, and at Kentucky. Yeah. Can't get no harder than that. Georgia. This is what consensus-wise you do too, and everybody in the country has Georgia, Alabama, and Florida pretty much up there at the top, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna put Georgia at number 4. You know, Georgia and Alabama, if they're gonna be if they're gonna carry the weight for our league, then they need to be able to handle it. So you just might as well get ready for it. They got Auburn at home. They got Florida and Tennessee at home. But you know, everybody's got this little asterisk out there. They got to go to Alabama, they got to go to Texas, and they got to go to Ole Miss. That Texas game is going to be just a fun one to watch, just because of when it's going to be. And we also have to remember, some of these teams are up-and-coming teams, and they're getting better and better, well, we're talking about the year after next. Right. So they're even going to be even better. So some of these games are going to be even a lot better. I got Georgia at number 4. I got Alabama at number 3. Alabama plays Auburn at home, Georgia at home, and South Carolina at home. But then they got to go on the road to Tennessee, to LSU, to Oklahoma. The last time they went to Oklahoma wasn't the best days.
Yeah.
It was not the best days the last time they went to Oklahoma. And I know Oklahoma will be ready because Todd Bates will have that defensive side of the ball ready to play because he's excited about playing that game. Number 2, I've got Florida, where most people have them as number 1, toughest schedule. I would if you added a non-conference to it. But they get Georgia at home, LSU, Ole Miss, and Kentucky. But then they're at Tennessee and at Texas. Those are 2 tough games right there. If Tennessee will treat Florida like they treat Alabama, then it should be interesting to see how Florida handles that situation. And then my number 1 toughest schedule is Oklahoma. I'm trying to find it. You got them at 5. Okay, I've got them at number 1, and they've got to go at home. They do draw Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. Now, the Texas game will be in Dallas. That'll be the non-conference game. That is the game that I will be at, the Texas-Oklahoma game. What's that rivalry called? The Red River?
The Red River Showdown, I think.
Red River Showdown, that's right, yes.
They changed it on us.
They changed the name, yes. And then they go to Auburn, to LSU, and to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is not an easy place to play. They're allowed to. The Grove is a great game or a great atmosphere to go to and watch. Those people get real excited. And you know something else about some of these games is find out when these larger games against LSU are going to be played. Yeah. Is it going to be played at primetime 11 o'clock or at night after all those Cajuns get drunk? Yeah. I mean, it's a lot louder in LSU and Tiger Stadium at night than it is any other time. So if you're a new, like Oklahoma and places like that, they got to be excited about going to Baton Rouge instead of the middle of Kansas.
Yeah.
Well, Dorothy come flying in on a hurricane. So, you know, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be really exciting. And guess what? We still got another year to wait till we get there.
I know. When it comes to Florida, though, and I'm interested to get your thoughts, do you think that Billy Napier, and I think he's doing a great job with Florida. He was put in a tough situation coming in, especially recruiting with Dan Mullen. Do you think that Florida will be ready for this tough schedule? We'll find a lot about them this year, obviously, but can he have them ready for what's to come with their schedule in 2024?
I think after this year, you have to give him enough time to get there. Now, because of the transfer portal, people aren't giving coaches time anymore. Right? You ought to be able to do it now. Yeah, you do bring in a lot of new players. USC brought in as many good players as anybody last year, and they still couldn't get it done because it takes time to gel. Yeah. You know, and a lot of times it's just a quick fix for some of these coaches till they can get, recruiting-wise, get the players that they want and they need into the program. Auburn is a great example. Bringing in a lot of players, good players, to get them through that gap till they can start getting the players that they want. I think by year 3 with Napier that Florida will be able to. The only problem with them is the state is full of football players, and they're going to be playing Miami, an up-and-coming team that's getting better, UCF that's already claimed to be national champions 10 times, and then you've got Florida State who is really up-and-coming. Yeah. You know, Florida State was they thought that, we're fixing to fall apart. But that LSU game last year was very big for them. I think Florida State's fixing to. They're very close to get back to where they were before. Yeah. So that's going to be exciting. It'd be interesting to see how they handle their non-conference schedule.
Yeah, and going back to Oklahoma, because obviously they did not have the season they thought they were going to last year with Brent Venables. Now they're coming into the SEC. Is this a team that's going to be ready? Because this, like you mentioned, it's going to be totally different competition than what they're used to seeing. Are they going to be ready for it?
I watched this is their first recruiting class, and it was a top 5 recruiting class, and they're already right now ranked in the top 5 in their next recruiting class. I'm not for sure that first year they will be, but I know by the second year they will be if they keep recruiting on the pace that they are, because I know Todd and I know those guys, they're very, very good recruiters, and they're bringing in good players. The key to it is can you keep those players now? Does Oklahoma, not their coaching staff, but does Oklahoma University and their people, are they willing to pay what it's going to take to be able to make it big in the SEC? And that's what it comes down to, keeping players now. Is Auburn and Alabama and all them? Yes, they're going to pay whatever it takes to have good players to stay, competitive in the SEC. Is Oklahoma, can they do that? Can they sustain that? You know Texas can. You know Texas A&M can. There's all kinds of money in those states. But can Oklahoma and Missouri and those states right there, are they willing to pay the money it's going to take to be in the upper echelon of the SEC?
Yep. So that'll be interesting. Those are our top 10 toughest schedules. Let's look at our top 10 toughest games. We'll look at mine first from yesterday. Our top 10 toughest games for 2024 coming up in the SEC. I started it off with Texas at Texas A&M, Georgia at Alabama, Georgia at Texas, Tennessee at Oklahoma, Alabama at LSU, Oklahoma at LSU, Alabama at Oklahoma, Texas at Oklahoma, LSU at Texas, and then Florida at Texas. So let's take a look, Coach Shortt, now at your top 10 games of 2024.
All right, well, we agreed at the top this time at number one, and that's a game that any fan would love to go to.
Yeah.
If someone would tell me that I could have tickets, because I can't imagine what they're going to cost, because they haven't played since 2011, I think. They played in 2011, and they don't like each other. They're probably the Auburn, Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
It's not all the other colleges that are in that state. It's Texas and Texas A&M because of what? Money. There's a lot of money. There's old rigs going up everywhere out there. So it's going to be interesting to see that game. That'll be a bucket list for everybody in the country.
Yep.
You hear all these people talking about, I'm trying to get tickets. I'm trying to get plane reservations to be able to fly out there and watch that game. That'll be, I would say that would be College Game Days.
I would say so.
That would be one of them. Don't you think that'd be a good bet?
I would think so.
I think it would be. My number two is Oklahoma and LSU. Oklahoma going to LSU. LSU's 2-1 in that series. But just Oklahoma, again, as I said, coming from the Midwest, it's a lot calmer out there playing Kansas State, the people they have to play, and now all of a sudden they got to go to Baton Rouge. And if it's at night, they're fixing to find out it's a lot different. Because, Oklahoma don't play a lot of night games. They play a lot of midday games.
Yeah.
If they get a night game at LSU, they'll all be intoxicated just from the smell.
Yep.
Number three, Oklahoma, Alabama going to Oklahoma. That's 2 weeks from ago. Oklahoma gets a big game. Alabama, last time that they played Orange Bowl, 2018, 45-34, a shootout. That's the kind of games Oklahoma is. I don't think that's what Oklahoma's going to be able to continue to do. Now, I do know that scores have gone up. I understand that. Defensively now, you just try to slow people down. You actually try to stop people from having explosive plays.
Yeah.
They're going to score, but make them score in 10 and 12 plays. If you can do that, you're successful. So, Alabama going to Oklahoma, that's going to be a huge ball game, and probably more so for Oklahoma than it is Alabama. They've been in a lot of big games, but now Oklahoma gets to see, hey, big bad Alabama's coming to our place.
Yeah.
Let's see how big and how excited we can make this place. Number four, Georgia at Texas. That's huge for Texas. Yeah. Texas is a mecca of athletes. Everybody recruits in Texas. Every college recruits in Texas. Every college recruits in Georgia. Now, Texas is a lot bigger state, but Kirby Smart's going to have that group ready to play because that's going to have a lot of that's a recruiting game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That will probably be a college game day game too.
Yep.
So, number five, this one, people don't look at this game for me, but one of my top games is Texas and Arkansas back together. Just the old Southwest Conference, is that what it was?
Yep.
Putting them back together. That dates back to 1894. So that's a bucket list game. 1894 is how far that game goes back to when they first started playing.
Yeah.
So that's before me and you. So,
yeah.
that'll be a great ball game right there, Texas and Arkansas. Will Arkansas be able to hold up their end of the deal? I don't know, but just the fact of going to Arkansas and seeing that game played again is great for the fans. This was a big one here. Number 6, Tennessee at Oklahoma. Josh Heupel returns home. Enough said. Him going home to where he won a national championship. And Oklahoma may not see it that way, but that week it's going to be a little bit extra in practice and ramped up a little bit. Guys, we're going to my place. I made that place, so let's just see. So that's an exciting game. Now, that game for Oklahoma will be more like what they're used to. pass happy, throwing the ball downfield. So that'll be a game that's not going to have to line up and worry about somebody trying to run over you. It's whether you can keep up with them and score. And Oklahoma in the past has been that type of team. Number 7, Oklahoma at Auburn. I didn't even see Auburn on your list. So, and I'm an Alabama fan, but anybody would love to see Oklahoma coming to Auburn.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of members on Oklahoma staff that have been in the SEC before, so it's not as big of them. But I know for Todd, he's excited about going to Auburn, and he said, I can't. I mean, just going to Auburn and playing it. If you've never been to an Auburn-Alabama game in Auburn, how loud it can get, it'll be rivaled. Yeah. Oklahoma coming in and Auburn, Auburn and Hugh Freeze after this year, I think they're going to be good, but give them another year, and Auburn could be, this could be a game that would be loom large and get into the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. And I think they've only played like 3 times in the history of the university.
Yes. And I think this is the first time that Oklahoma will be going into Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah.
And when those rockets fly over, those planes fly over, and it gets loud, and they start flashing those lights, and if it's an afternoon and once it turns dark and those flashing lights go orange, it'll blind you. So it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of people looking for tickets already for the Oklahoma-Auburn game. LSU going to Texas. That's enough said. When you got LSU, the Bengal Tigers going to the Aggies, Longhorns, excuse me. I said Aggies, the Longhorns. LSU going to Texas. I would say Texas tries to play that game in the afternoon.
Yeah.
When it's 150. Yeah. As hot as it can be. And LSU's hot too, but LSU's hot and humid. Yeah. At Texas, it's a different type of heat. So that'll be an interesting game. And that'll be another one of these. I mean, every game I've listed is a big recruiting game. I mean, I can't imagine some of the games what's exciting is for the high school players.
Yeah.
The high school players that get to go to these games, the upper echelon kids, they're going to get to witness some of the best games that they've ever witnessed as far as on their visitation weeks. Alabama and LSU, can't ever let that one get away.
Yeah.
Enough said. But I will say this, Alabama normally wins when they go to LSU. Normally, we had that little fall off, but it can happen. And then number 10 for me, which is most people's number 1, and this is a game that we're already, I'm kind of used to it, is Georgia and Alabama. Georgia coming to Alabama. So I remember the last time Georgia came to Alabama. It wasn't good for the Bulldogs. But the Bulldogs have changed things since then.
I'm glad to see this Georgia at Alabama as a regular season game. I mean, because we're used to seeing this game with a lot on the line in the SEC championship or national championship, but just a good old regular season game. I'm glad to see these two playing each other.
And you would think that the SEC has got to move this game early in the season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Got to.
How would you put it last and put it around 9 or 10, and then say, oh, by the way, y'all got to play again in 2 weeks, and that's kind of happened before in the SEC, but they don't want that to happen. That's not something. It's hard to have a marquee matchup 2 weeks in a row or within 3 weeks doing it again. So you would think that game's going to be early in the season. I about predict that game will be a game 3 or a game 4.
Yeah.
Won't open up with it, but a game 3 or a game 4. And one thing is, I've finished with that, is we've got to be real interested and see the non-conference games and when they're going to be played within these schedules, because they're telling them you got to play a good one, and that's there's nothing wrong with that. But if you play like Alabama and put a Wisconsin, which is a Big Ten team, are you going to put them late in the season? Well, if you put them late in the season, if they get stuffed in there late in the season, then we're going up there when it's cold.
Yeah.
And it's different. I'm just telling you. You take all those Southern boys and move them up there to the north, they're going to want to come home quickly because it's going to be cold. So we'll see exactly when that game and what they put it in between.
Yeah.
Because these SEC coaches and athletic directors do a good job of trying to take these non-conference games, and we as fans, I don't, but they want to have 9 of these tough ones and only give us 3. A lot of times within that 3, 2 of them you want to be gimmies where your young quarterback gets a chance to play. Everybody gets a chance to play and be happy. You got to have some of those games in the schedule.
Yeah.
I don't think our fans want that. They want a 2020 again where we just play 10, 12 conference games and kill each other and see what's left.
Yeah.
For a coach, they don't like that. We like to have those a couple games built in where they are cupcakes.
Yeah.
They are, and everybody has them. Even the Big 12 and the Pac-10, they've got cupcakes too. You need some cupcakes to make things sweeter.
Yes, I agree. And when you look at like Alabama, Texas this year, week 2, Auburn, Cal, week 2, I think that's a week 2 or 3 is a good place to put those tough non-conference games. You get them out of the way, and then you can kind of focus on your conference games. Because I know it's got to be different to maybe stuff Auburn, Cal or Alabama, Wisconsin down later in the season, because you got to kind of turn your preparation from what you're used to focusing on one of those teams. So week 2 or 3, week 1 even, I think those are a good spot for those.
They are, and you're going to have to, especially in the SEC like this year. This year in the SEC, there's going to be a lot of new quarterbacks. Well, that next year, there's going to be a lot of returning quarterbacks, which makes it more important. So those early games in the season and those cupcake games are a lot for quarterback development. And in football now, you have to have a quarterback. If you're going to make it to the playoffs and you're going to do well in the playoffs, you have to have a good quarterback.
Yeah, it's very true. It's some exciting football coming up in 2024 in the SEC. And we'll be ready for this 2023 season, but we're certainly looking forward to 2024 as well. Let's jump to a break. Come back. We'll open up the Southern Sports Now mailbag on the other side. Stick around here for more Southern Sports Now in a moment.
Here at Ted's, we are excited to now be offering custom-made cabinets. With that in mind, we're changing our name to Ted's Floors and Beyond. The Beyond is going to encompass everything that we offer in addition to all of your flooring needs.
We've partnered with Welber Cabinet Company, who makes the highest quality cabinets in the industry.
So when you're ready for a complete kitchen or bathroom remodel, shop Ted's.
Since 1993, WM Grocery has been a major part of our local community. WM offers the very best in fresh produce and an outstanding meat department. WM also has many local products not found anywhere else and fresh sushi every day. If you need an event catered, come see Mrs. K at any WM store. Curbside pickup is also available for your online grocery orders. Be sure to download the WM app for all the deals of the week and shopper rewards. Go check them out today at any of their locations.
We take pride in our community and appreciate your business.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rodney Sneed from both CARES and Direct Primary Care. Direct Primary Care is an exciting new model of medical care growing on both the East and West Coast. It's been recommended by Forbes and the American Academy of Family Physicians and others for individuals or small businesses with or without health insurance. The pure simplicity of a membership model streamlines the burden of medical care. It eliminates 60% of the overhead. That streamlining allows providers time to focus on patients with free, no copay, no deductible, unhurried office visits or telehealth visits with minimal waiting room time. It produces same or next day appointments and access by text or telephone during and after hours. It saves you from leaving work, wasting time and getting exposed in a waiting room. And the convenience and cost with barriers removed helps one avoid letting problems like a sore throat turn into an expensive ER or hospital visit for pneumonia. If you're interested, search the web for CARES Direct Primary Care.
It is Southern Sports Now. I'm Chase Robinson. We got Coach Michael Shortt in here with us as we're talking sports this morning. And as we do each and every Friday, we open up the Southern Sports Now mailbag. We give you a chance to send in questions. And we get to share those. And here's how you can submit questions every week. You can email us, eansports23@gmail.com. You can send us a message on our Facebook page, East Alabama Now, or send us a direct message there on Twitter at EAN_sports. That is how you can submit questions there to the Southern Sports Now mailbag. We got a couple of good questions that we're going to get to this morning that Coach and I will be answering. First question: should the Braves trade some of their younger prospects for a good closer as we get closer to the trade deadline? The end of July is the trade deadline for Major League Baseball. And so the question, should the Braves trade some of their younger prospects for a good closer? And this is a good question, Coach. I mean, because when you look at it, that's a tough decision. Short term, yeah, you want a good closer. Long term, well, the Braves have some good prospects in there that could be very helpful for the organization moving forward. So, that's tough for me to answer.
Do you want to, I guess the question for us is, do you want to win I mean, I know they want to win a World Series. And if they were the type of organization that it would be willing to do that, probably in the past they've done one a couple more.
Yeah.
But in the long term, they're always relevant. They're always there. They're always a team that could be there because of the way they run their organization. I don't think that they'll deal away some of these young guys to get a stud closer.
Yeah.
Unless they just felt like this is the last chance we got with this group.
Yeah.
They're set up for several years now to have an opportunity. And the bullpen was supposed to be a strength of their team this year. I mean, the bullpen, along with their analytics of their offense scoring so much now, is getting them there, and, man, just maybe the closer, what's his name?
Raciel Iglesias.
Iglesias. He's not had as good a year as he normally would have.
Right.
Their bullpen has been, through injuries, has been weaker than what they expected it to be. I just don't see them dealing away some of these young pitchers to do that. Like you said, short term, okay, yeah, we got a chance to win it because they're so good offensively. And are they strong enough in their pitching staff? Had a great game last night from a new young up-and-coming guy.
Yeah.
I just don't see them trading away their young guys because that's not who they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they will I think they'll keep some of these prospects. I think we could see some trades happen. Alex Anthopoulos usually does go after some trades, and I think the bullpen and maybe a closer would be a place to start if he is to do some trades as we get closer to the trade deadline. But I do think that he likes these prospects. But then again, I wasn't expecting Anthopoulos to do the trades he did in 21, and he did them, and they ended up winning the World Series. So it's hard to tell what he's going to do. But I do think if they were going to do some trades, I think they're definitely looking at some bullpen guys.
That would be true. And also, if they make those trades, and if they make them, and you say, well, they just traded some young guys. Well, that means somewhere down the line they think there's somebody we haven't seen.
Yeah.
There's a young guy that we're fixing to get through the draft that's going to make us, those guys know who they're getting in the draft. It may not, but they have good ideas who they're going to get, who they're not going to get, who the trades are going to be. They don't just decide this year, I think we'll trade this guy.
Yeah.
Trades are talked about for years in advance. So he would be the guy that would surprise you. But if it happens, like I said, it's a great question because that's the one thing right now. That's the one piece that is missing, is that. And it's one of those starters because, they have 5.
Yeah.
And I know they've had some injuries, but a lot of times once you get in the playoffs, you go to 4.
Yeah.
What's that other guy do to sit there? I mean, you have to do something with him. So are any of those guys maybe somebody that could move to a 1 or 2 inning, middle inning relief guy?
Yeah.
And can one of those guys that are in the bullpen now move to that closer role? Yeah. I don't know that, but that's a place they'll look.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So great question there. Our second question, which league do we think players want to be a part of, the USFL or the XFL? Obviously 2 spring leagues, and I think guys play in these leagues to maybe have a shot to get back out there. But, I think there's good parts of both of these leagues, but which one do you think players want to be a part of?
I have watched the XFL, but I keep an eye on the USFL, and I get the privilege of getting to talk to Coach Holtz every week. So here's the stats: the USFL had 176 players from last year's team make it to the NFL. The XFL had 46. The XFL pays some guys quite a bit of money. But on the average, the USFL pays more guys more money. It's almost $6,000 a game. So the USFL players, on the average, everybody's making around $80,000, $85,000. Where the XFL has a few that's making that, but the more of them are making less. But Coach Holt said the other day, my goal, along with all the other coaches, is to make sure my roster is different every year. And as a coach, you think that'd be a nightmare. But their goal as a league, because it's backed by the NFL a lot more than the XFL is to get those guys in the NFL. 176 to 46, that's a lot of guys. Now the XFL's got some exciting things that really draws the attention of the younger crowd. I got all this special stuff, the nice uniforms, the strange looking helmets, and how you would announce that game and be a broadcaster for that game with everything going on that's going on. That would be interesting. And there's some things, the kickoff stuff, safety factors they're doing. that's exciting. But to me, if I've got a choice, and today, if they're both on at the same time, I'm watching the USFL before I do the XFL.
Yeah. Do you think the XFL is, and because in watching both of them and comparing them, it seems like XFL is more of a made-for-TV show.
Yes.
And the USFL is football with a little added, bonuses in there as well.
I think the XFL is arena football that they brought outside.
Yeah.
Because arena football has, everybody's dressed up and the cheerleaders are not real dressed. And and so it's all exciting. It's made for TV. The coaches even get out there and scream and holler. And it's just, it's a show. Well, the USFL is kind of like the NFL. It's not a show. They're out there and they mean business.
Yeah.
It's more of a business to me, a business atmosphere. So, the XFL, I mean, like I said, it has its fans. It does. But the ratings are like 3 points higher for the USFL than it is the XFL. You see, the XFL gets done, even though it's a spring league, it gets finished before the USFL does. So, and I think another thing you need to look at is where the XFL is at compared to where the USFL is at in the cities they're in.
Right.
Where you put them has a lot to do with whether they'll make it or not.
Yeah.
And the USFL, after trying before over the years, I think it's finally got it right in putting them where they need to be as far as teams are concerned.
Yeah.
And the communities they're in. I mean, Birmingham's a perfect place for football. And if people didn't realize spring football will never make it in Alabama, it'll never make it. And I know that because of SEC baseball getting stronger and stronger, the USFL still has a good crowd because they're putting a good product on the field.
Yeah, and they are. And they, again, have a chance to win it in a couple of weeks. Next week, the playoffs start for the USFL, and Stallions 7-2 on the year. They very well could make another run at it.
It's a great place to go watch a game.
Yeah.
I mean, I live where they're playing. When it first started years ago, it was at Legion Field. That wasn't a great place to be. But, boy, being right now at Progressive State, that is a great place to go watch a football game.
Yep, for sure. So appreciate those mailbag questions this week. We'll do that again coming up next Friday here on Southern Sports Now in our mailbag. Want to get to a couple more things before we get out of here. We mentioned in the headlines, Jacksonville State quarterback Zion Webb back for his 7th season. Coach, that makes 9 quarterbacks on the roster for Jacksonville State. Rich Rod, an offensive guy, has 9 quarterbacks to go through before we get into fall camp.
He's always been known wherever he's at to have a lot of quarterbacks. I don't even think 9 is the largest group he's ever had. Now, to me, the question would be how many of those guys are on a half or a full scholarship? If some of them are just there to be there, that's one thing. I would say 4 to 5 of them are probably on half, 2/3, maybe a full scholarship. You got the guy in from Nebraska that's coming from a Power 5. Undoubtedly he's a talented player. I think him and Zion Webb, Zion knows the offense as good as anybody because he's been in it now with him. So Zion is positioned himself to have a doctor's degree now after being there for year 7. That's amazing. But for him, with all he's went through, the injuries he's been through, I'm glad he's getting an opportunity to finally, because I guess now he's probably at year 4 of being healthy.
Yes.
Out of 7 years, maybe this year he can stay healthy and show really his true potential. And I'm excited to watch Jacksonville State because of the move up. But be patient, people, because this is going to be a move. It's going to take time. Yep. It's not all of a sudden we got to go out and get all these players, because they're having to get different types of players, bigger, faster, stronger players, because it was evident last year when they played that. Was it 1 or 2 games? It was
2 games.
Up in classification, and did we ever even close in any one of them?
Nope.
No, and he understands that. That's not a knock against the coaching staff before or any of the players that are there. It's just a different level of football.
Yes, it is. And with Zion Webb back, that just increases the ground game for Jacksonville State. Conference USA better be ready for the running back room Gamecocks have. And if Zion Webb does end up being the starter, which he'll have to earn his spot against, guys like Logan Smothers and Tayshawn Smoot, who are already on the roster. But that will just increase the ground game for Jacksonville State.
It will. And I know that from watching the differences they've made through the portal and recruiting, they've gotten bigger. You're going to be surprised at looking at Jacksonville State this year and how much larger they've gotten on both sides of the ball, because they have to. Their offensive line's got to get bigger. The defensive line's got to get more of them. They got to get bigger, and they got to get deeper in order to contend at that level of football.
Yeah, and I'm excited. We've been talking about SEC football, but I am excited to see what Jacksonville State can do in in Conference USA against some good football teams, and some weeknight games, some national TV games. There's a lot going on there with the Gamecocks in Conference USA.
I talked last Thursday. I talked to Mike Parrish, and I said, "How are you going to do your weekday show? I mean, which night's it going to be on?" He said, "I don't know, Coach." He said, "Because usually they don't want to do it the night before a game, so we could be Monday, we could be Tuesday, we could be Thursday." So he said, "Just stay tuned." Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be good for local people to be able to go. Maybe tonight I can run up here real quick and watch the Jacksonville State game, because you know as well as I do, if Alabama and Auburn are playing close on the weekends, they have to compete with that.
Yeah.
But by going to different nights, I think people will be, even more interested in going to watch these people play. And it's big for their conference to open up and be able to be seen. And these aren't just teams that we can't, that we wouldn't know, but we're able to see them on a good television. I mean, we can pick them up and actually watch them on TV now.
Yeah, ESPNU, CBS Sports Network. So, those and we haven't seen night games a lot for Jacksonville State the last few years, because knowing they're really competing against Alabama and Auburn, that they've played a lot of 1 o'clock in the afternoon games like that. To get people there. But some night games in Jacksonville State, I think, could be pretty fun.
So night games, and I don't know this, I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if the lights don't start flashing at JSU and having those flashing lights in a nighttime game, and their facilities being done and finished. When they get those finished, they have to do those type of things in order to bring in that caliber of player. And the number one thing to watch out for, JSU fans, is JSU going to be willing? Remember I mentioned it a while ago, is Oklahoma and Missouri going to be willing to pay what it takes to be on the big time? Is JSU's people going to be willing to pay what it takes? Because you may get a good player in, and all of a sudden he's not a 2 or a 3 star. He becomes a 4 and 5 star guy. Can you keep him? Are you going to be able to pay him enough to stay?
Yeah.
That's a question that will have to be answered here in the very near future.
Yep, that's very true. So we're right around the corner from college football, and we'll have you covered here the rest of the summer, getting ready for the season. But we've run out of time, Coach. It's gone by quick. Appreciate you coming in and talking with us, and enjoyed a Coach Shortt Friday.
I enjoyed it very much so. Anytime I can talk sports, I enjoy it.
Well, we've got a big weekend of sports coming up. We'll be back with you on Monday to recap it all, as a College World Series going on, U.S. Open, all kinds of good stuff happening. Remember the Calhoun County Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony happening tomorrow night at the Calhoun County or at the Oxford Civic Center. So we'll have some coverage of that coming up next week. Hope you have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday for a new edition and a new week of Southern Sports Now.